This is Celebration Church, but it's more than just a building or a church. We have a calling to be a place where people can find a relationship with God instead of religion. A place where freedom is found and acceptance given, and every person can discover their purpose and experience the kind of fulfillment only God can give. Together we will raise, lead, and empower a generation to change the world. Here, Jesus is famous, and all the glory goes to God. This is celebration. This is our family. Welcome home.
Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. Let's lift up our voice to celebration and sing and tell to the Lord. I've seen you move mountains, Father. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way where there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains.
If you want your children to do something, do you tell them, or do you wait until they seek your face and beg you, oh mother, oh father, what is it thou desirest of me today? Please tell me, please. I'm sorry, I can't tell, please. I'm not ready, please tell me. It's ridiculous, hence the giggling. For heaven's sakes, if you are very clear with your kids, hey, clean your room. It looks like a litter box in there. All right? Fix it up, do this, do that. You're very clear. Why would God? Why? What is the purpose of God withholding his will? It's his will. He wants you to do it. Why? I know people who have been waiting 10, 15, 20 years, and they still can't come up with the answer to what they should be doing. And in the church, they don't volunteer, they don't get involved anywhere because they're still waiting for God to tell them what to do. This is absurd. This teaching is nonsense. This idea that you have to beg to find out God's will. And in point of fact, again, the New Testament teaches about God's will more about who you are, the kind of person you are, how you interact and treat others is more about the will of God than whatever job you have. If God doesn't make it really clear, just do whatever you can. We'll talk more about that next week. Now, in our growth track, we want to help people to discover their purpose, and part of that is what should you be doing. We're going to have you go through and discover some of the talents and motivation skills that you have innately in you and show you from this what it is that you can do. But this discovery process is not so you can get your sense of self-worth and self-discovery. Oh, this is who I am. This is what I should be doing. Oh. You know, now some of you might feel that way, but that's not the point of this. The point is so to show you now, getting a sense of your skills and your motivation and stuff, what is it that you can do, that you can serve God and others with. So in a very fundamental sense, every believer's purpose is to serve. Exactly what you do will help point you in those directions. And we want to tap your best skills and abilities and motivations for the benefit of all. But it's more about serving. How do we serve people? Now, we're going to look at the life of David again. We're going to peek over here in the 2 Samuel, the 23rd chapter, verse 13. And we read, during harvest time, 3 of the 30 chief warriors. Now, what they're talking about are these, David was a major warrior. He was a serious butt kicker. I mean, stunning. I've said this many times. I wish Hollywood would do an accurate depiction of the life of David. You know, with some tough dude. You know, not Richard Gere, doing his. David was a major, and they focus on all the other stuff that most of us are aware of. The point is, a lot of this, he was an incredible warrior, and some of the descriptions of some of the battles, things that he did, it was more than just him slinging a rock at Goliath. This guy was one scrappy, tough hombre. And as much as he did that, it still wasn't what defined him. But he was a major fighter, so this would inspire other fighters to step forward to follow him and join with him. So his whole group of guys were really tough guys. And I wish we had time to read some of their accounts. Some of them, quite frankly, the way they're described, were tougher than David himself, which is really not unusual. I know some people, there are the kind of leaders that get paranoid or insecure if they surround themselves with people who are better than them. I do not. I think a really good leader should be thrilled to have people better than them around them. All right? I'm not the most organized guy in the world. I have people who are much more organized than I am around me. Thanks be to God. There's people with different skills. I want people to shine because it helps overall. So David, not only was he a great fighter, but he attracted guys that were really better fighters than he were. And they describe these, and then there's this group of 30 yo mama butt kickers, and I wish we had the time to read some of the stories. But then out of that, then there's the 3. So the 3 are like, these guys are unreal. These men, you don't mess with these guys. These guys were unbelievably tough. Anyway, so 3 of these 30 chief warriors came down from David to David at the cave of Adullam while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. At that time, David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. So it was one of these battle situations. He's over here, and the Philistines have this garrison. Our garrison is 5,000 men. That's a lot of guys. And they're around Bethlehem. So anyway, verse 15, David longed for water. He was thirsty, and he just says out loud. He's not instructing anybody. He's not commanding anything. He's not ordering anything. He just goes, oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem. You know, it's like you say, man, I could have had a V8, or, man, I could go for a burger right now, or something like that. And somebody hears that. And so what happens, these three guys hear him say that. So they decide they're going to go and get him the water. So the three mighty warriors broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out before the Lord. Far be it from me, Lord, to do this. Is it not the blood of men who went at the risk of their lives? And David would not drink it. Such were the exploits of the three mighty warriors, and there's other details of the really fascinating stuff that these guys did. But this is one of the things that these three mighty guys did. Now, I want you to take a picture, get a picture in your mind of what happens here. David just says, man, I wish I could have a drink of water from Bethlehem. And then these three guys, they just overhear him. Well, the king said he wants some water. Now, if these guys were Americans, it would have ended there. Because I only do what I'm qualified to do. And I'm not going to do something less than go get a water boy. He needs a water boy to get him some water. These guys don't think in those terms. Why? They are focused on one thing, serving the king. They want to serve David. So when they hear this, they say, well, we better go get him a drink of water. So these guys set out. Now, I want you to figure, this would be like in World War II. Some general saying, man, I would really love to have a bratwurst from Berlin. And then three guys break through the German lines, get to Berlin, order a bratwurst, bring it back to him with mustard and relish and the whole deal. So this is what these guys do. They hear him say, man, I could use some water from Bethlehem's well. Okay? Now, I would, at a minimum, I just say, somebody got a bottle of water, give it to David. Anybody got some water? And just give him, no. Because David said he wanted water from there. So these guys break through the lines. Now, I'm pretty sure they didn't just go, excuse me, can I get in here, These three butt kickers come, they find a point in the line, they bust through the lines. Who knows how many heads they bust or how many people they kill to get through the lines. Go, get the water, hurry up, we got to get out of here, grab the water, and then they got to carry the water, and the water's heavy. And I don't think they had plastic bottles. Probably some, thing that they're tugging around. And here's the thing, when you break through the line, the bad news is you got to break back out. Right? So they got to fight their way through, and they bring it to the king, David. And David pours it out. I would be seriously hacked. I just risked my neck to get you this water. You pour it out. But it didn't matter. He said he wanted it, so I serve David. Oh my goodness. These are guys, this is way beyond their pay grade to go get some water. But they served. They were focused on serving. David's men knew that even though they were great warriors, at a fundamental level, all they knew that mattered is that they served David. In American churches, whenever the subject of servant comes over, if you were to Google it, because, prepare for these things, and what you see, all these sermons on servant leadership, and they have classes on servant leadership, and, conferences where everyone discusses servant leadership. Only in America is our version of serving only in the context of I'm still in charge, right? I'll be a servant as long as I can still tell people what to do. I'm a servant leader. No, Jack, a servant is a servant, and usually they're not leaders. All right? A great leader is a servant, but not just everybody isn't a servant leader, okay? The thing with a servant, servants don't generally be in charge of things. They only do what advances the wishes and the desires of whoever's in charge of them. Jesus talks about this in Luke, the 17th chapter. He's describing what a servant is. The Bible talks about servant. This is not a new concept. You all have heard this, right? You read in the Bible, Paul, a servant of Jesus Christ, James, a servant of the Lord Jesus Christ. Well, what does that mean? Well, he gives a picture of what servant. You have to start, not think, American contemporary concepts, but 2,000 years ago. So in Luke 17, chapter 17, verse 7, Jesus says, suppose one of you has a servant plowing or looking after the sheep. Will he say to the servant when he comes in from the field, come along now, sit down and eat? Now, I would think that's exactly what I'd say. Siri is talking to me. Will you stop? I keep pushing buttons accidentally in there. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. That's okay, neither do they. But anyway, so, because I tend to ramble. No one understands what I'm saying. So, Jesus says, when a servant's not working in the field, when he comes in, he says, man, sit down, take a rest. Now, we would. I would, wouldn't you? If someone's working really hard, I've had guys working for me around the house, and they get tired or something. Man, you want some lemonade? A cup of coffee? Offering things. Take a break and stuff. It's exactly. Somebody's been working all stinking day long, and they come in the house. Sit down, man. Let me make you something to eat. You want a sandwich? I'll make you a ham sandwich. That's what I would think. But in this context, Jesus knew, no, you don't do that. It's hard for us to comprehend that, but you have to understand in this concept, in this year, 2,000 years ago, you don't offer servants anything. And he's saying this as an absurd concept, hard for us to relate to. He's almost saying this like a joke. Like he says, would you offer your servant, when he comes in, sit down and get something to eat? He knew the answer was, of course not. Of course not. He said, won't he rather say, hey, Jack, make me something to eat. Prepare my supper. Get yourself ready. Wait on me while I eat and drink. And after that, you can eat and drink. Wouldn't you rather do that? Again, we wouldn't do that unless you're really cold. But in Jesus' day, and this is the Lord, he's not being mean, this is the culture in which they were in, you don't do this. What you do instead is when he comes in and he's all hot and sweaty, say, okay, and what have you been doing all day long? Watching I Love Lucy reruns. I don't know. So the guy comes in and he's, hey, make my supper. Yes, sir, right away. Do you see how shocking this is to our culture? Who would do this? But this was normal to them. This is what you do to a servant. This is what a servant is. This isn't a servant leader. This is a servant. His job basically sucks, all right? He's told what to do, and he does it, and he doesn't get a break. No one expects him to give him a break. Jesus said the very idea of giving him a break is absurd. Not to us. We live in a different time. But back then, it was absurd. Then he says, will he thank the servant because he did what he was told to do? I would. Wouldn't you? Man, I got people come over to my house and do work for me. Thanks. Thank you. Because I'm clueless. I just had someone fix my toilet yesterday. Why? Because I don't know anything about toilets. Well, I know how to use one. But beyond that, Leon went and fixed my toilet for me yesterday. So he comes, and I'm thinking, thank God, thank you, Leon. And so how much? He said, X, and I gave him more. That's what I do. I'm grateful. Thank you. It's usually when I have people. Just be very grateful. Jesus said, would you thank him? The implication is, of course not. Do you see how shocking this is? This is the Lord telling them what a servant is. Would you tell the servant after a long day to relax? No. You tell him, go get something. And would you thank him for what he did? Of course not. Wow. Kind of harsh, wouldn't you say? So you also, he says, when you have done everything you were told to do, should say, we are unworthy servants. We have only done our duty. That's what a servant is. When these men wrote in the Bible, I am a servant of God, I'm a servant of the church. This wasn't servant leadership, where you drive around in a nice car and get to say nice messages as long as you're serving people. No. This was a lousy, creepy job. They were there to serve Christ and to serve others. How can I serve you without even a remote hint of receiving thanks for what they do, or recognition for what they do? Well, we are so far from this, you can't even get your head around it. It's stunning. Man, I like servants. I like going to South Africa or some of these other countries where they have, everybody has servants. They whine, gee, you Americans, it was so great in America. Yeah, you come here, you're going to do everything yourself, all right? All the time, all the people in the South, I can't wait to come to America. So you can do everything. You have no idea how good you have it. When we were there, man, we were staying and in this little place, and the servants came every day and cleaned everything. No matter what you did, you left, you came back, everything was perfect again. Everything was picked up, hung. They did the laundry every day. Every day. Seriously, next time I'm going over, I'm taking like 2 pairs of underwear, because that's all you got to do. Because they clean it every day. Where I was at, that's what they did. I want to sit at that same place, praise the Lord. And when it came time to pack and come home, how many of you like packing? Big, they knew we were going to pack. They knew. It was like David's men heard. So yeah, we got to go pack. And so by the time we get there, because we're dragging, we don't want to do it, We walk in, everything's packed already. And I mean, not Mark Gungor version of packing. Roll it in a ball, stuff it in there, jump on top, put some more. Folded, perfectly folded, organized and all. We walk in, oh, I really like this. This is nice. And I thanked them, and I gave them a big yo mama tip because I wanted to do it again, okay? Because that's us. But a true servant, from what Jesus is saying, in this culture, you would never thank them. You would never tip them. You wouldn't even acknowledge them. In fact, it would be wrong to do so. That's the kind of culture he's talking from. He's saying, would you do this? Of course not. Everybody listen, of course not. I said, well, that's right. He says, that's the way you should act. Oh, man. And we are supposed to be servants. Do you know what a servant does? A servant does whatever somebody tells him to do, period. Just tells him to do. Now, this is very idealistic. And again, I can't even get my head, or I'll be honest, I look at this and every fuse all pops in my head. I've got a long way. If you're anything like me, you got a long way to get here. Nonetheless, we must teach the truth. And the truth is we're supposed to be servants. From an idealistic perspective, as the pastor of this church, I should be able to walk up to any one of you and ask you to do something, and you just do it. I said, I want you to do this, and you do that, and you guys clean the toilet next week, and you do that, and you serve the communion, and a true servant would have of course, yes, sir. That's what they do. Now, that's idealistic. Most of you are going to tell me to stick it, all right? I get that. Why? Because we don't quite get the concept of servant. And some of us, we're not going to, that's beneath me, right? Especially if you're a highly educated man or woman. I'm not going to hand out communion, for heaven's sakes. Anybody can do that, But when you have an attitude of servant, you just do whatever, I should be able to come to Jeff Bricker. You guys all know Jeff at Stevens Point. You guys know. And say, Jeff, I want to put you in charge of our compassionate counseling ministry. And he go, yes. Now, I wouldn't do that because Jeff is military. You go whining to Jeff, he's going to make you drop and give him 50. You know what I'm saying? You're not feeling good about yourself? Good, get down, give me 50! All right. So I probably wouldn't do that, but he'd do it because he's a servant. Jerry Enders at our Appleton campus, he's an older feller in his 70s, probably, at least I'm guessing, Jerry. Hopefully you're not 20. But I say, Jerry, I want you to be in charge of the teen ministry. Jerry probably do it. Now, it's not a good idea because, last time he was a teen was a long time ago. I said in the first service, I should be able to come to Pastor Joe and say, Pastor Joe, you're going to be in charge of the toddlers. And I said back then, in the first service, I said, and he'd do it. It would be a bad idea. But he'd do it. And then we said to him out in the foyer, Mark said, you can put you in front of in charge of the toddlers. He goes, okay. See, that's Joe. That's exactly what he'd do. I know this man. If I asked him to do toddlers, he'd do it. And most of you mothers would kill me in a week, all right? He doesn't know what he's doing, all right? But that's the idea of servanthood. We should be servants. Now, what we want to do is help you to discover your gifts and strength so that we can stick you in the right places, okay? But don't become obsessed by what you do. The reason I'm saying this is because this has been a problem as long as I have been involved in churches, and I've been, since the 1800s, I've been involved in churches. And if there's one thing, you have someone, this is my ministry, and you mess with that ministry, they get mad as a hornet, they leave the church. You got someone who's involved in the youth department. I says, I'm a youth minister. That's what I do, and I serve in the youth ministry. And then the pastor comes and says, we're going to change how we do that. They get mad, like a bunch of cats. Hey, man, leave the church. Get a bunch of musicians up there, and you tell them we're going to do something different. That's my ministry. We've seen this forever. In fact, whenever we try to do change, we all do it with fear and trembling because we don't want to tick off the cats. The truth is, we shouldn't have to worry about that. If you are passionately crazy in love with toddlers, and I say, listen, I really need you to help out over here in the greeters. If you are a true servant of the heart, you go, yes, Pastor. You don't say, oh, no, my gifting in my ministry is working with daughters. Actually, a few people sign up for that anyway, but I'm just saying. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Hopefully you're hearing me. We're going to next week talk about how to discover your talents and gifts. And that's what this program is that we get you involved in, so you can learn some of these things and do this discovery. And that's why it exists. So that we can, and it's great. And when you can start doing what you innately are gifted to do, you'll love it. But all I'm saying is, number one, from last week, don't let it define you. This is not what you do, does not define you. And secondly, more important than what you do, to understand the fundamental thing, our main purpose, what undergirds our very existence here. What can I do to serve others? And to have the attitude of a servant. And we all got a long way to go, including me. Because this version of servant is painful to read, much less to live out. But to remember, what can I do? Don't be guarding your territory, as it were. Always have an open heart. What can I do to help other